Hello and welcome to Going Over Our Freds, the internet's best Fred Olin Ray podcast. With me, as always, is Meredith.
And with me is Michael and two surprise special guests.
Yes, from the Random Acts of Cinema podcast, also known as Rauk, I think, by the kids. That's how they say it, right?
It is, yeah.
All the kids are saying
They love their abreves.
Mm-hmm.
We've got Mike and Charlie to join us here for today's episode of the Christmas Gauntlet. Hello, Mike. Hello, Charlie.
Season's greetings.
It's Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yeah, I mean, sure, we're recording this like right before Halloween, but it's still Christmas in our hearts right now.
And no more because of this movie, which just filled me to the brim with the Christmas spirit.
I mean, this is definitely one of the, and also it's Christmas movies. Like, let's not get into the spoiler of the premise of the movie, which isn't introduced until 30 minutes into this 80-minute long movie. So what did we watch this week, Mare?
Wow, only 80 minutes. That comes as a surprise to me. We watched A Christmas Wedding Date, which was made in 2012. And for the record, everybody's hair, costume, and makeup looked up to date to current trends to me.
I know that you do not see how fashions have changed in the last 15 years, but
I was looking for it on purpose, and I was like, I don't see anything dated here, but I digress.
I mean, this movie totally could have passed for 2015. I mean, maybe even 2017. So.
It looked like it was 2024.
2018 tops.
You know, and the thing is, with Fred Olin Ray movies, usually they look dated by the time they're released anyway, especially these Christmas ones. Everybody's wearing, like, Lane Bryant clothes from 2 seasons ago. Or, what's the skinny girl version of Lane Bryant? Avenue? I don't know women's fashion.
Well, I was super excited when this movie started because it is the first one in the Christmas Gauntlet that seemed to be set outside of California, at least at first.
For a few minutes.
We open in New York.
I know, I was really kind of hoping we would go back to our roots of having the movie take place in fake East Aurora, because our first 3-4 Christmas movies we watched in previous seasons were all East Aurora, a town by my hometown, like 20 minutes away from where my mom lives. And Meredith and I have actually visited East Aurora, but we have not been able to use that personal inside knowledge of East Aurora in any of these movies so far.
For the record, Michael controls what movies we watch.
I was able to use my inside knowledge of Valencia, California to follow along with this movie very well.
Oh, fantastic. We're going to take advantage of that.
Excellent.
All right, well, we kick off with meeting Rebecca. She is our main character here. She is wearing up-to-date, fashionable business attire. I swear she is. Anyway, she works at an investment bank and is very ambitious. So, ambitious young woman. Where have we seen that before?
Every single Christmas movie.
I mean, the gauntlet is really gauntleting me right now. Rebecca just put in a ton of work to make a recent company merger successful, but instead of getting promoted, she gets fired on Christmas.
Oh,
rough.
It's just like modern day capitalism, how the Instant Pot company went bankrupt for making too good of a product. She gets fired for doing too good of a job.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Now, if you look carefully at the guy who fires her, we just saw him last week, and we've seen him a couple of times. That is Daniel Bucco, who is playing the same character as last week's movie, which was stupid, evil ex-boyfriend. Now he's stupid, evil boss. Probably 20% douchier than last week. I don't know. I know Mike and Charlie did not see last week's movie. You're
shucks.
Not missing out on anything. I know. Real shucks.
I did appreciate how much that guy was just, like, he seemed to be genuinely enjoying playing the douchey boss. Like, he was having a lot of fun.
Agreed, yeah. There's not a lot of that in this movie, but there are a few people who are having a blast, or at least bringing it.
Well, that is a guy who knows his essence as an actor. Like, his acting teacher told you, you're a douchebag, and he's like, all right. Yeah, one of the bridesmaids has a similar vibes. When we get to her, we'll discuss her essence as well. So basically now we've got the plot of Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, slightly, where she loses her high-powered New York City job and goes out to the closest equivalent to West Covina that they could afford to shoot in.
And they established that the moral of the film is about strong, independent, professional women finding their way through the misogyny of the corporate workplace to excel in their particular field.
When this is released by the Criterion Collection, you will do the commentary on it, Charlie, I can tell.
Quick question before we dive into the Valencia portion of the movie. So it's established pretty strong in New York that she has a cat.
Yes.
And then she says, like, I'm going to and then she leaves for California.
Yeah.
And then we never hear from the cat again, do we?
Yeah, true.
I'm pretty sure the cat is dead. No, I mean, she doesn't... Yeah, she doesn't even get a cat watcher, does she?
I mean, it's not discussed.
And the cat is the best actor in the first reel of the movie. Like, we get like 15 reaction shots of the cat when she's talking to the cats.
Which I do feel is like purchased B-roll of a cat.
That would not surprise me. Fred Olen Ray has access to so much B-roll and so much stock footage that, yeah. Because, I mean, he's not going to pay for a cat handler on the set. Come on now.
Certainly not.
That's too bad.
Unless it's just his cat, and he just, like, shot some footage of his own cat.
Talented cat.
This is a man who has used his own 9-year-old son in a monster costume in one of his movies, so that would not surprise me at all.
All right, so she has lost her job, and a friend of hers, Alyssa, gives her a call because Rebecca hasn't responded to a wedding invitation, and Alyssa's trying to track her down. She's like, come home to Santa Mira, California. It's 78 degrees here. Why wouldn't you want to be in a hot climate for Christmas, for my Christmas Eve wedding? All sorts of things horrible about that to me.
So she finally has no excuse not to go, and what is her, like, big trauma? Her dad died a couple years ago, and she thinks her mom is mad at her about it, so she doesn't want to see her mom anymore?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Her dad died 3 years ago, and she has not spoken to her mom since, because she's a horrible daughter.
She's just a bad person in the first act of this movie. Like, she is mean to everybody except for the cat.
Like, genuinely.
I can see why her douchebag boss does not want her around.
He's like, I suck, but come on, man. You're giving me a run for my money.
Or, counterpoint, she's a fragile woman going through a period of enduring mourning, and I don't know.
She's lashing out.
Yeah,
Right.
could be. Could be.
She's not processing her feelings because she's too busy being good at business.
Yeah, you got to process them properly. So our main woman is an actor named Marla Sokoloff. She's been in a bunch of stuff, but mostly she came to fame playing a receptionist on The Practice for something like 80-some episodes, that David E. Kelly show from the late 90s.
Good for her.
Yeah, so she would have been like 19 when she started that show and playing a receptionist. So I think she might either have been very young or be lying about her age currently on IMDb/Wikipedia.
You're on the case.
But she comes home to her mom, and her mom is one of the two famous people in this movie. Meredith, did you recognize her mom?
Yeah, but I couldn't place her. I was like, I know that face, and I thought maybe she was an 80s sitcom mother.
Well, close.
Close, yeah.
So she was the mom in a couple of things. Her name is Catherine Hicks. She was the mom in Child's Play,
Oh!
That's what I
one of
recognize
the
her
great
from.
Chicago horror movies. She was in Star Trek IV, Let's Go Save the Whales.
Yes, that's where I know her from.
But you also might know her from Seventh Heaven, playing the parent that was not arrested as a pederast in the last couple of years.
I never watched Seventh Heaven.
You know, oh my god, I thought you just kind of had to. Like, it was just on.
My wife walked in and caught like the last 10 minutes of this movie as I was finishing up, and she was like, "Oh, the mom from Seventh Heaven." That was like the first thing she said.
She has not had a different haircut in the last 40 years, this woman.
Hey, if you find a haircut that works for you, I say keep it.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. We didn't mention that Rebecca got into a cab from the airport, and Norm from Cheers is the taxi driver.
Norm!
George Wendt.
Norm!
Best part of the movie.
He is also the kooky neighbor in the horror movie House, which I'm sure everybody here has seen House. Classic movie. He was really good in Stuart Gordon's Kingdom of the Ants. But, yeah, I mean, he's Norm from Cheers. That is what is going to be on his obituary. And that's how we will be known 100 years from now. So
He's younger than I thought he was. He still looks great. I know this movie was from 12 years ago, but he's just youthful even.
Yeah, for sure.
it's like that meme, how everybody on Cheers in the first couple of seasons was way younger than you thought they were.
Yeah.
Everybody just looked 40 all the time in the 80s.
I was excited to see George Wendt in this because I'm just like, you know what, George, get that paycheck. Good for you.
Yes.
And as we have learned from, I've got Fred Olen Ray's How to Make Your TV Christmas Movie book. He filmed in one day.
Of course.
I'm assuming Catherine Hicks might have also filmed in one day, but she does show up in multiple locations.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
At least 2 days for her.
yeah.
This movie was very efficient, and I guess we'll get into that a little bit later.
That's a nice way of saying half-assed.
Efficiency.
Yeah.
Like an efficiency apartment. It has everything you need in a compact little package. This is the first movie in the Christmas Gauntlet that has Christmas magic. So I was excited about that, and it did give me a little bit of relief from our earlier films.
How many have you done so far?
This is a 4?
I think this is 4 for the Christmas Gauntlet, and
Yeah.
we did 2 in the first season and 1 or 2 in the second season. So we've watched a lot of Fred Olen Ray Christmas movies.
All right.
I mean, that's a career for some people, right? I did 7 Christmas movies. Wow, that's incredible. You must have been so busy.
I think Fred Olen Ray has made more Christmas movies than Stanley Kubrick made movies. So chew on that, Kubrick.
And I don't think Stanley Kubrick ever had a magic Christmas ornament, which we have in this movie.
I mean, he probably filmed it, but it was part of the 1,000 hours of footage on the cutting room floor.
I think those were the deleted scenes from Barry Lyndon.
Oh, man. With the natural light, the Christmas ornament looked so good.
Yeah, like the candlelight, like flickering off of the ornament, it would have been beautiful.
So Norm gives Rebecca the magic Christmas ornament. He says some stuff that seems vaguely prophetic and knowing out of a
He says he got it
cookie?
like... but he doesn't just say fortune cookie. He has to say Chinese fortune
Specifically
cookie.
Chinese fortune cookies, because
That's
you
right.
don't want to confuse it with any of the other fortune cookies that are out there vying for the Chinese fortune cookie business.
And as you California guys know, fortune cookies were invented in San Francisco.
Yes.
That's right.
So this is nonsense already. But that's the only flaw in the movie.
My takeaway is that George Wendt is a pro, and you give him a script, and he reads what's on the page.
Yeah.
Yeah, those scenes did seem the most natural, even though he was the magic man. So we get Rebecca home. She's back in her teen room, and we have to zoom in on a framed photo of her high school ex-boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
I did not recognize him when he actually showed up live in the next scene. I didn't recognize him from the photo.
Yeah, it was a hard match.
He didn't have his terrible sideburns in the past photo.
Right? So silly.
Okay, so there are a few things I have to mention. When she gets with her mom says, "I made your favorite peanut butter cookies," and then hands her a plate of cookies that in no way resemble peanut butter cookies. Those are sugar
Certainly not.
cookies that are frosted. Those are Kris Kringle cookies at best. And then repeatedly in the first act of this movie, she talks about how she shouldn't eat things because she's a city girl and has to stay slim. Like, it's just such eating disorder stuff. And then, like, part of her character arc is learning to overeat. I'm not really sure how to feel about any of it, but I know Fred Olen Ray is trying to tell us something here, but I'm not really
It's
sure
like, the whole thing is like she's learning to live, and part of that is learning to enjoy food again, but it's the way it's handled. It's just, the whole thing feels very awkward.
It really does. Honestly, a peanut butter cookie should be considered a protein bar anyway. It's not. You're not eating it for carbs. You shouldn't be worried about carbs. Get it for the protein.
Mm-hmm.
It's also, 2012, right? And, Atkins wasn't exactly brand new at the time, but it was in the zeitgeist that everything was... It's like a throwaway joke that's a reference to something that's going on that isn't actually a joke. It's like, these ladies with all this carb talk, am I right?
Mm-hmm.
That's fair. But now we get to the meat of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's time to go to the wedding.
Oh, it's time for her Christmas wedding date? Who's her Christmas wedding date?
The date is Christmas Eve. She wakes up because her mom calls. She's already late somehow because they're starting at 1 p.m. on Christmas Eve, which, okay, all right, just spoiler. We have a whole wedding scene and an evening reception scene. And then when she leaves the reception, it's still full daylight outside. And that I cannot abide.
Also, who has a 1 o'clock wedding with a reception afterward? So are they eating like a 3 o'clock early dinner? Late lunch?
It would be a late lunch. You do that when you're having a dry wedding. It's fine. It's totally fine, but don't pretend that it's a wet wedding and going into the evening.
It's some 1 o'clock day drinking on Christmas Eve, like everyone's favorite, like what everyone could hope for.
Yeah. I guess if it is Christmas Eve, you want it earlier so you're not really getting into people's Christmas Eve nights because people
That's
have
fair.
like kids and have to wrap presents.
Also, who do you guys cuss on this podcast?
Yeah.
Yes.
Who the fuck gets married on Christmas Eve? Like, I'm sure people do, but good God. Like, if someone I knew, like, sent me a wedding invitation and said they were getting married on Christmas Eve, like, I would seriously consider not going. I'm sorry. Like, that's just, fuck you.
Yeah. No, that's the one, like, that's like having a Thanksgiving wedding. It doesn't make any sense.
No.
Like, my in-laws, their anniversary is on Halloween, but they eloped, so it didn't matter.
Sure.
And
That's fine.
my one friend got married on Sweetest Day, but it was an accident. She was like, oh no, it's Sweetest Day.
Yeah, if you want a weird special holiday wedding kind of thing, yeah, just elope. Don't, like, rope, like, hundreds of family and friends into, like, having to change all of their holiday plans for you.
Although I bet that the wedding venue fee is greatly reduced
Probably.
on that day. It's probably a cheap day to
Yeah.
host a wedding.
You probably have to pay the staff time and a half, though. I would think you have to have holiday pay for that. But I think the good news is that all of these people are 10 plus years out of high school, about the exact same age, and there's only like 30 of them at the wedding. So at least they're saving money that way.
The thing I loved about the walk to the wedding is, like, it's because we know what we're getting into with this movie. We know this is going to be a Groundhog Day situation. Spoilers for what's going to be happening.
Spoilers!
I know, sorry, but, like, knowing that going in, like, her walk to the wedding where she's, like, running into the guy trying to sell skating things and running into the Girl Scout, and, like, it's like you're like, oh, we're going to see all this, like, 50 times, aren't we?
Yes.
And what do we see it 3 times?
Yeah, and
it's
then
different each
like
time?
it doesn't cut back to it most of the times, and you're like, oh, well, then why even bother?
Yeah, you expect it to come back like 5 or 10 minutes later, so it's kind of fresh in your memory. But
No, it takes a long time.
These are all typical Christmas Eve activities. I always have to dodge the Girl Scouts on Christmas Eve. I don't know about you.
Well, no, not just dodge them, berate them because they're trying to sell you food that's going to make you fat.
Yeah, she like yells at this little girl about how cookies make you fat.
She's so mean. Who yells at a Girl Scout?
Oh. Okay, since we've just passed everybody on the street, we have the Santa Claus ice skate guy who's trying to get people to go ice skating. And this guy, I'm assuming, looks somewhat familiar to everybody.
somewhat.
He's like a character actor who's been in like one episode of like 100 different things. But he was the lead on an ABC sitcom that ran for like 100 episodes in several years. That man is the voice of Earl Sinclair from Dinosaurs.
Wow.
Wow.
And he has real Earl Sinclair energy is what I'm saying. Like
He's not the mama. I know that for sure.
No,
He is definitely not the mama.
that's hilarious.
I haven't thought about dinosaurs. Wow.
Yeah, this is a star-studded cast is what I'm saying. They've got Earl Sinclair money.
Well, we get to the wedding. Rebecca's in a black dress and a purple shawl. It's just, she's a dour New York City girl and runs into some high school buddies. They are bridesmaids. One is Jennifer, who's very proud of recent weight loss, so continuing on that theme, and also very proud of her recent boob job.
So proud.
Oh, and she wants the main woman to touch her breast implants, which is kind of, risque for one of these Christmas movies. And I thought that she was going to do it when we saw this scene multiple times, but no, just not at all.
Just kind of skirts it in the future. So I got really confused by something early on. For some reason, I thought she was going to her sister's wedding, and she was, like, blowing off her sister's wedding, which is clearly worse than your friend's wedding. But I was like, wow, like, she's not going to go to her sister's wedding. And then she gets home, and her mom's like, she's like, Mom, you going to the wedding? She's like, no, I have to work. And I was like, Jesus Christ, her mom's not going to her own daughter's wedding? I was like, what is wrong with these people? And then she gets to the wedding, and she's like, oh, you're the best friend. You're not one of the bridesmaids? I was like, oh, they're friends? Like, I don't know where I got sister from, but, like, I was really confused for several minutes until that
It's
got
all
clear.
a little nebulous and half-assed, yeah, like...
Yeah. I could see how you got confused.
why I can't, like, the mom should be going to this wedding, too, but I don't...
Oh, she has to work at the diner.
Catherine Hicks there for that many days. They can't afford her.
Yes.
They can't afford to close the diner even for 3 hours. Like, the whole town would just go to hell without the
The
diner.
customers need her.
Yeah.
They do.
They have no place else to go.
Like with the 5 people that are in the diner, they need her.
yeah.
They need her. That's a setup with no payoff.
Yeah, exactly. I was waiting for her to like learn to love the patrons of the diner herself or something, but yeah.
Absolutely not.
Okay, so Jennifer is the one who wants people to touch her breasts, and then they're interrupted by Molly,
Molly.
who
Molly.
is the blonde mean girl. That is an actor named Chalon Simmons, and she's basically played that same part in every movie that was filmed around British Columbia or like low budget horror movies and stuff like that. She was one of the college kids in Tucker and Dale.
Nice.
Cool.
Okay.
What I most remember her for, though, is she was in Final Destination 3, playing basically the same part, and she is one of the tanning bed deaths. She gets fried by one of the
my
there are
God.
2 mean blonde girls who die in the tanning bed. I think you can kill them a different way because the DVD of Final Destination 3, as I'm sure everybody knows, had a choose your own adventure mode.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, I know. I owned this on DVD I got it from when I was reviewing DVDs from Inside Pulse, right, Mike?
Hey, yes.
Or the DVD Lounge, or whatever the fuck they were calling it then.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can watch her die if you really hate her a lot. But she's just doing her bit.
I just want to choose your own adventure DVD. I want to experience that. That's really cool.
It doesn't change much.
So she does a great job. She is a perfect mean girl. And her hair is just really, I don't know. She must have done her own hair because it is like head and shoulders above the quality of any other hairstyle in this movie. Really beautiful curls. Just saying. Okay, we're in the wedding now. We're going into the room, sitting down. There's a keyboardist and vocalist that are supposed to be comedically bad, but I thought they were on the level of everybody else. The
Yeah,
vocalist
I got
looked
that.
familiar. Is there a reason she looked familiar, or am I just face blind?
Face blind.
Damn it!
Yeah, no, I think she's just like a local improv lady. I didn't really look her up. Maybe I'm wrong, but like keyboardist and vocalist, I did not recognize from anything. So
Those
All
two
right.
were very like SNL sketch. Like,
yeah,
like, we're so bad at this. Isn't that funny?
they're not big enough to be like super funny, and they're not subtle enough to be funny in that way either. They're just kind of in this weird kind of dead middle ground where they're just kind of bad at their job, but
You
it's
can't quite tell if the joke is that they're bad at their job or if they're just
Yeah.
bad because it's the movie.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
exactly. That's exactly it. It's like, should I be laughing at this?
And we've got a priest. We've seen this priest before.
There you go.
Recognized the priest.
Yep.
He
And-
was in Abner the Invisible Dog.
He was in Abner the Invisible Dog. He was
Did he play the dog?
No.
no, he played the evil. He played the Joe Pesci part of Abner the Invisible Dog because that's a Home Alone ripoff.
Nice.
He was in the Christina Applegate sitcom Jesse. He was in Wizards of Waverly Place as the dad. That's David DeLuise, Dom DeLuise's son, one of his like 3 sons.
One of his
who
sons,
all-
yeah.
Yeah, who all act, and I think one of them might be halfway decent, but he's the hammy one. So
That was the other one when my wife walked in at the end of the movie. She was like, "Oh, is that a Deloise?" I was like, "Yes, it is."
yeah,
Wow.
Is it Peter?
I was like, "This
No.
movie's stacked." Let me tell you.
So he's there hamming it up, and a beat that we hit several more times is that the best man doesn't have the ring. Everybody's embarrassed. A member of the attending guests has a spare ring, and the ceremony goes on. From my perspective, was the first time I had seen the hot groomsman come in on the arm of one of the bridesmaids, who evidently we had seen before in that framed photo. I was just like, oh, look, it's like a younger Viggo Mortensen. That's what he looked like to me. His name's Chad. Who's Chad?
Chad, oh, that's Chris Carmack. He's done a bunch of like little stuff, but I think mostly people would recognize him because he was on the first season of The OC. And then he's done 100 episodes of Nashville. So neither of those are things I watch, but I'm sure he's very famous to somebody. I could not stop looking at his terribly sculpted sideburns, though.
Yeah.
He's such a
I
Chad.
did not notice them because there was this whole like cheekbone jaw situation going on.
Okay, now is he actually handsome to you, or is he just like kind of weird plastic Ken doll handsome?
I recognize that he belonged in that Barbie movie as one of the Kens.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. It's not personally like I wouldn't want to flirt with him, but I recognize that this is somebody to fawn over.
He's very generically like handsome, in like the most uninteresting way.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he was on the first season of Lost, but they killed him off pretty quickly.
No, he's the guy that showed up in the third season, and they killed off really quick because they realized it was a mistake.
He was part of the tail section or whatever the hell they separated that out.
Yeah, right.
Now we get to the reception. It's our first time at the reception, so...
At this point, we're 2 hours into the movie, right?
Oh my god, it seemed like it.
Yeah.
And we're really 25 minutes in.
So here's a few beats that happen that we see over and over again. Rebecca gets hit on by drunk Tyler from high school. I guess he's always had a crush. He's shooting his shot. She shoots him down.
A guy who did not even shave for the wedding.
Chad greets Rebecca. I guess they'd been in theater together. He sings a little bit of a song. She sings the next line. This is never explained.
Is this a real song?
Yes, but not really. So if you look up the lyrics to this song, it is called This Is Love. And according to, like, the first thing that pops up on a Google search is that it's on the soundtrack to Fred Olen Ray's A Christmas in Vermont.
Okay.
Which came out 4 years after this movie.
Wow.
So, like, I don't know, maybe they had these lyrics and then just decided to write a song about it afterward, or maybe...
So he used it twice. That's hilarious.
I mean, I have to imagine he's used it more than twice at this point, since he's made 150 Christmas movies. Like, just use a public domain song. Use something from the Great American Songbook that people would actually know, but...
Or a Christmas song?
Or a Christmas song, that would work too. It's like, but this is like, what about Second Chance? Like, I mean, they've said the lyrics...
The lyrics have to be on the nose, or people won't get it.
Oh, you are right. You are right about that. So Scruffy Tyler looked very familiar to me, and he has not done a ton of stuff, but he was part of that... If you watch the show Peacemaker, he was part of that bickering couple who was on 2 episodes. His wife was yelling at him, saying, like, you like that song Pumped Up Kicks? That's about murder. You're basically a murderer. So...
Been funnier if she was like, you like that song about second chances?
There's a good chance James Gunn has not watched this movie, so we should send it to him.
Let's do it. All right, we learn a little bit more about Chad. After high school, he went to Paris and learned to cook. And then he moved back home to Santa Mira and opened up a restaurant. Yay! He's so happy to see Rebecca.
So wait, her mom needs help with the diner, and he's a chef. That's going to come together some way, right?
Perfect.
No. Why would that come together? What? Molly, our wonderfully, like, blonde, curly-haired Molly, shoves herself into the conversation and gives Chad a big kiss. Rebecca leaves. Oh,
Yeah,
no.
so Chad is sexually assaulted by Molly.
At which point, I thought that they were dating.
Yeah,
Yes.
it definitely looks like it.
Right.
That's what you do when you are possessive over somebody and have some sort of reason accepted by the person that you're assaulting to go ahead and have permission to do that.
Yeah, there's some sort of tacit consent just by, like, proximity or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because he didn't react poorly at all. He acted
Right.
like there was tacit consent.
Mm-hmm.
So we all thought that they were dating at this point, including Rebecca, because Chad doesn't know how to act. Okay, great. Another lovely
Wait,
scene.
Chad doesn't know how to act, or the actor doesn't know how to act?
Well.
Yes, yes.
Meanwhile, drunk Tyler and another groomsman start doing shots, and Molly has a, like, crazy laugh.
Yeah, she laughs and snorts.
Yeah, snort laugh, yep.
That's the joke.
Yep.
And they sing the high school fight song because these people that are trapped in the small town that they live in have not, like, or have arrested development and are still in high school in their mind.
Yeah, it is. It's some stuff there. Whew. Okay. Later, we're sitting at the 60-inch rounds for the reception. There's 60 inches across. You can seat 10 people at a
Backgrounds
table.
in event planning, huh, Meredith?
Well, I don't know what a normal person would call them.
Tables?
Yeah, but specifically the 60-inch rounds that you sit at a wedding.
Big tables.
Anyway, they're having a conversation. Everybody's
5 foot
catching
round.
up. Okay, whatever. Rebecca is asked, hey, why did you and Chad break up? And Rebecca doesn't really want to answer that because Chad's right there.
Mm-hmm.
And Chad's like, we moved to different cities. Ha 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 ha. Whatever. Molly gets up to give a speech or a toast or whatever. She's doing her Molly mean girl act and gets in a dig at Rebecca. In Molly's mind, getting married at 28 is super late, especially if you've been high school sweethearts. So she's like, what were you waiting for? I thought that even Rebecca would be married by now.
Burn.
They're 28.
Yes, but this movie was written by Fred Olin Ray, who is much older than that.
I guess when Fred Olin Ray was a young whippersnapper, you got married at 15.
Mm-hmm.
My goodness. So anyway, Rebecca leaves the reception basically in tears. It's full daylight outside. She walks to her mom's diner. She's estranged from her mom. There's anywhere else she could go, but no. Let's go to the diner where mom's working right now and go to the bathroom in the diner to fall apart.
How small is this town that she can walk from her house to the wedding to the diner?
Yeah.
All within a short amount of time. Maybe 5-10 minutes.
There's 6 buildings in this town, I think, is what it is.
Why didn't she go to the ice skating rink? Surely they have a bathroom.
Yeah, but she hasn't learned how to ice skate yet, Meredith.
All right, well, whatever. Chad follows her and he wants to have a conversation. And this is where I really picked up that Chad and Rebecca have vastly different accents, and neither are where they've been living for the past 10 years.
You want Rebecca to be like, hey, forget about it, I'm from New York.
Or, have some New Yorkie lilt or something. And Chad should have some sort of
Parisian surfer boy accent.
Some sort of je ne sais quoi, perhaps?
Yes. But he's talking like he's old-time Americana folksy, and she's talking with a generic Midwestern newscaster accent.
Mm-hmm.
This whole thing should take place in the Midwest somewhere.
This whole thing should take place in East Aurora, New York, where it would take place if it was filmed 2 years later. Okay, so I think the important part about this first diner scene, though, is that towards the end of the scene, I think their mic stopped working, because the entire thing, to me, sounded like it was filmed with their onboard mics of a camcorder or something like that. It was just the worst sound quality I've heard in a non-amateur movie.
I didn't notice at all. Is my hearing going? Oh
Possibly.
My God. We're about that age.
They say that hearing is the second thing to go.
What's the first?
I don't remember.
Jokes!
I did notice the audio going in and out a few times, or at least the background music being a little too loud for the dialogue.
Oh, wow.
Every once in a while, the mix maybe was bad. I'm no technician. I have no idea, but it was hard to hear occasionally. And you're hanging on every word, so it's so frustrating.
I'll have to go back and rewatch it.
Yeah, I think so. That's your only option, really.
All right, later, we're back at home. Rebecca puts in her earbuds and has the first of this movie's montages.
Yeah, we're already at a montage. We haven't even gotten to the premise of the movie, and we have a montage of stuff that has happened in the first half an hour of the movie.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It's hey, remember what happened 5 minutes ago?
Oh, man, good times. We're going to make this 85-minute runtime, guys.
All right, finally, we get to the next morning. Rebecca wakes up in her nightshirt and her hair done up in her overnight do, just so. And she's like, all right, that was a disaster. I'm packing my bags, my 2 enormous pieces of luggage for my 2-night planned trip. And then this is where dummy Meredith realized that this was a time loop. And I was like, oh God.
It takes so long for her to figure it out, too.
Yes.
It's so painful to watch her figure this out, but also we're already kind of breaking the rules of time loop movies because she wakes up at a different time than she did on the first day.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
She's not late.
But this time she wakes up early. Did her phone alarm not realize it was the same day as before? I don't get it.
No. She woke up the day before because her mom called her.
Yeah, and that was
Right.
at 11 o'clock, and now she's waking up at 7 o'clock in the morning because her mom is not even at the diner yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because she talks to her mom before, and her mom's like, oh, I gotta go. And you're like, wait, this isn't a conversation that happened, quote-unquote yesterday.
Yeah, you feel like the movie's going to establish some sort of rush parameter. Like she has to hurry to get things done in the time loop or something like that. But no, she just keeps waking up earlier and earlier, just having more time in the day for activities.
And also, doesn't it cuts from her talking to her mom to the wedding ceremony, and we don't get the walk back again. Because we established the walk with all those fun characters, and you're like, oh, we're gonna get to see the walk again, and it just cuts straight to the wedding. You're like, wait, why did we meet all those characters on the walk if we're just gonna cut straight back to the wedding?
Okay, well, and also it's even more frustrating because not only does it take her for a while to figure out the time loop situation, she repeats something that her mom said on a day that wasn't part of the time loop.
Mm-hmm.
While she's realizing that she's in a time loop. And then George Wendt appears to tell her that she's in a time loop.
In a window. Yes. In a reflection.
In a window, yeah. And she talks to him does she think he's on the other side of the glass? Is he a reflection? Is he standing behind her? It doesn't...
Yeah, she seems to think everything is totally normal still.
And even though she's figured it out, and she has the explanation from, Mr. Destiny, Angel, whatever the fuck George Wendt is supposed to be in this movie, she still has moments of freak out at the wedding where she's acting like this is new.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She's at the wedding saying man, have any of you ever experienced deja vu before? She's she's still figuring it out. No, stop it. It's all these things are out of order and I don't understand it.
Clearly she's never seen a time loop movie and has no idea how to act within the parameters of the situation.
I mean, the whole first day of the time loop, first day of the time loop does have to be a little awkward, but I think they go a little too far with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they shouldn't have had George Wendt explain that she's in a time loop right away.
How else is she going to figure it out?
Yeah, she's not that bright.
Jesus Christ.
You know what George Wendt should have appeared to her in the reflection of the ornament.
Oh.
Not bad.
Yes.
Yeah, but that would have been hard. So you can't do that. That's not flat, Mike. Come on.
All right, so we get through the reception. She's acting all awkward and weird. And then she makes a really smart decision after the reception. She calls the airport or the airline and tries to reschedule her ticket for that day so that she breaks the time loop somehow. I thought that was... I've never seen that in any other type of time loop movie. I was like, this is really smart.
That happens in every time loop movie.
But always later, never on day one.
Right.
Kudos to her for moving it to day one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Norm is the airline ticketing agent, and he's like, no, you're not getting out of this that easily.
What a clever way to close that gap, you know? Just the angel says, no, don't think so.
You can't get on a plane, you can't get on a car, you can't get in a bus. I will stop you.
He is her warden. She will not escape.
And if you go to the next town over, I'm going to punch you.
Uh-huh. All right. It's the next morning. Rebecca now wakes up with the ornament in her hand just to point out, you have to do something. And she goes to the church early to get some sort of spiritual guidance from the priest. I don't understand this impulse.
It's also not in character.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why would a priest know that you're in a time loop? How would a priest know how to get out of a time loop?
He's a magic specialist.
He's just some guy.
He's a guy in a dress who talks about magic. Who else are you going to go to?
I guess.
That's the closest thing you can get to Gandalf in this small town.
So, unsuccessful in her quest for knowledge, she just goes through the loop again, and this time, on the way to the church, she bumps into some kids and they spill some stuff on her dress, so she's got to get a new dress, and this is where it took, a lot of time for Bill Murray in Groundhog Day to get to. She is just there are no consequences, I'm doing whatever. So she, buys a new dress. In her eyes, it is an ugly dress. It looked fine to me.
It's a lateral move for her.
Little loud and garish for her. I can see why she thinks it's ugly.
The pockets were a little big.
Yeah, the pockets were a little big for a formal occasion, but it looked good on her. The colors were fine, you know? So, yeah. Anyhow,
for a little California Christmas wedding, come on.
Yes, she's talking about that dress being tacky. Getting married on Christmas Eve is tacky. That's tacky behavior. At the wedding, when the bridesmaids are coming at her, she's got clever or biting comebacks. So she's feeling pretty good about being mean
like the friend with the breast implants comes up and says, "Hey," she's like, "Hey, you lost weight and got breast implants," and she's like all suddenly very self-conscious of the breast implants. She's like, "Could you tell?"
Also, of all the women I've seen in Fred Olen Ray movies, that woman does not look like she has breast implants like every other woman in a Fred Olen Ray movie has breast implants.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
They're family-friendly Christmas breast implants.
Yeah.
They're not Darcy the Mail Girl breast implants.
I wonder if the actress, actually has breast implants.
Yeah, if they were a normal size, you would never be able to tell under clothing.
Right.
Right, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and she wasn't wearing like a booby outfit or anything like that. There was no decolleté or anything like that.
Yeah, it was just a normal kind of Empire waist situation. Okay, whatever. Skipping ahead, too. The best man has forgotten the ring. Rebecca picked up like a really like goofy-looking plastic pink ring and throws it at the priest.
Yeah, one of those ones you bang and it flashes light.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is fine. It doesn't matter what ring you get married with. It's just the symbolism.
Mm-hmm.
What matters is that we're really paying off the setup of the missing ring. Like, that's going to pay off so big in the end.
I do want to point out, like, I feel like everyone is insanely calm when it comes to the missing ring. I feel like in an actual wedding situation, if, like, someone didn't have one of the rings, like, everyone would be freaking out. And in this movie, every single time, everyone's like, "Oh, oops, my bad." And they're like, "Oh," and like the bride's like, "Oh, it's fine." And I'm like, I don't think any bride would be. I mean, tell me if I'm
Probably
wrong,
really
but,
expensive.
yeah, like,
Yeah.
like this is like an important, like, symbolic, like, moment in like the relationship of these people, and it's like to not have the actual ring, like. It sets off things in your head like, is this like, does this mean our whole wedding, like, is a sham? Like, our whole marriage is not going to work? Like, that's the kind of things that go off in your head.
At least in terms of, like, wedding movie rules, right? It's like a bad sign, like bad luck, right?
But in this movie, it's
something's
just like,
going on.
Oops,
right?
oh well. Like,
The mother of the bride should be yelling at somebody or something like that. But I don't even remember if this bride has a mother. So
She
I
does
will
not.
say, in real life though, this the bride, Allison, whatever her name is, she is the daughter of Greg Evigan. And if you remember Greg Evigan, you remember him from two shows. He was on BJ and the Bear, the show about a trucker with a monkey, a chimpanzee. And he was the non-Paul Reiser dad in My Two Dads.
Oh!
No way. Wow. Yeah.
So, like, this woman's first acting appearance was being an extra on My Two Dads because her dad was on the show. So
Cool.
I watched that whole show. I don't remember a damn thing about
Hell yeah. Yeah.
you can't count on me. No matter. I think that's the right one, right?
I don't know.
Oh, man.
I believe he was he was like a postmodern furniture designer, right? Their whole like set was like the wild furniture that he made.
Oh. Yeah, I don't.
yes.
that is something
I think that
Charlie would
sounds-
That
remember.
sounds right. That sounds right.
Yeah, and then their daughter was the one that would show up on Step by Step later as the
Yep.
smart girl.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to her? Huh. I'll look it up.
She died in Vietnam.
Okay. Now we're at the reception again. And Rebecca replaces the groomsmen by joining drunk Tyler for shots. So she's just living her best life because there's no consequences. She can have all the carbs and alcohol she wants.
Well, and there's no consequences on that day either. She drinks 10 shots and is never drunk afterward. Like, the next scene afterward, she's just fine.
Yeah.
She's a little hungover the next morning.
Which doesn't make sense.
No.
Right.
She shouldn't be hungover the next morning at all.
Yes. Well, Chad comes in and he's saying, hey, you should take it easy. You're going to get a hangover. One, Chad, come on.
Yeah.
This is an adult
Mind your own
woman.
fucking business, Chad.
Stop being a Chad.
100%. We know that she's making bad decisions. Everybody knows she's making bad decisions. It's not on you, an ex-boyfriend from 10 years ago who has not talked to her in these, 10 years. Maybe she's a functioning alcoholic, and if she doesn't have those shots, she's going to die. You don't know, Chad.
That's
You
what
don't
that's the
know,
conclusion
Chad.
I was going to jump to. She has had to suffer through this same okay-ish day 3 times, Chad.
I would be drinking that much. Every day. I would be wake up and like, I'll start drinking now.
Drunk Tyler, he wants to have some sexy times with Rebecca. At first, she seems into it, but then she's like, you know what? Even though this is a day with no consequences, I still don't want to. Drunk Tyler, no. Unequivocally, no. She has to give him a gut punch to have it really sink in, but he gets the no eventually.
It's sinking eventually, yes.
She does let Chad have it with regards to an alleged cheating incident with Molly 10 years prior. Chad does not know what she's talking about, but Rebecca says repeatedly she caught him making out with Molly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so we revisit this several times, and no one else saw this, and then the movie acts like it didn't happen. Did the movie gaslight us?
Yes, it did.
Because, like,
what did she see?
yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a guy that looks like Chad that Molly was kissing? Was it not Molly? And I don't... What happened instead of what she saw? Did she have hallucinations?
We would all like to know.
The way I read it, Chad is lying.
I mean, that's the only...
He's so sanctimonious and like so like controlling of like what her worldview and what her like life path should be. I think he's like, I didn't do it, and he's absolutely lying. And she's like, wow, you couldn't be lying to me. You're Chad.
Or he was just like in high school and so drunk he doesn't remember.
That would be a great explanation of like Chad was forced to do 10 shots by drunk Tyler at 18 years old and he doesn't remember. Like something.
And he thought it was main woman Rebecca he was kissing, but really it was Molly wearing a wig. But Molly didn't see the... But no, that makes sense.
You need like a romantic comedy style explanation or like a Three's Company style like misunderstanding.
You know how you explain it? Like, they're all drinking. They're in high school. They're drinking. Molly comes up, because we established that Molly will kiss somebody without asking.
Yep.
Yes.
So Molly comes up to him, starts making out with him. He's, like, literally trying to push her off, but, like, he's drunk, and so she's just, like, all over him. She walks in, sees that, storms off. 2 seconds later, he pushes her away and says, no, like, I have a girlfriend. This is not okay. And then, but she doesn't see that part.
You know,
Right.
that sounds like it would be a flashback scene with extras and, like, time-appropriate clothing. It sounds expensive.
Yeah, it does sound very expensive. But you know what? You can explain that with dialogue without a flashback is also.
Oh,
Right?
I don't know. We have to have time for at least 2 montages in this, so...
My God. No, there's like 4 montages. 4 montages! No flashbacks.
Okay, now, is this when Rebecca gets picked up by the police for some
Yes.
reason?
Yeah, well, she's like making a ruckus. It's off screen because I guess that costs money to have her make a ruckus on screen. They take her away in cuffs and she says, I'll be back. There isn't a jail cell that can hold me.
It's a good line.
Well, and this is actually the most charismatic the actress has been in the movie, is when she's getting her mugshots taken and she's making goofy faces.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the rest of her performance is a complete flatline, or I don't like her. But if she's making goofy faces for the mugshot, I'm like, okay, I can get behind this lady.
All right, next morning. No, like, she's fine. She's joyful. She's like, my life has no consequences. I will eat and drink.
Though there is one fun fake out when she wakes up and she's in prison and she's like, oh shit. And then she wakes up in bed, right? Because, like, I don't know, the time has passed appropriately. That was some fun, like, let's play with the rules of a time loop movie, right?
That was right.
If we knew what time everything reset, we could really have, figured that out, I think.
In which time loop does she buy the Porsche on the company credit card that should have already been canceled because she was fired?
It's this one.
It's this one, okay.
Oh, it's this next one?
Yep.
Okay, yeah. Because
Where she gets the personalized plates same day.
Yeah, that's impressive.
That must have cost a lot of extra money to get the personalized plates same day.
I just bought my wife personalized license plates like the week before her birthday in August, and they didn't get here until late September.
Yep,
So,
that sounds right.
Also, you can't, like, she was able to buy a car before the wedding, too. You know how long you gotta sit with those guys, especially on a Christmas Eve? Like, come on.
I guess if you're going in and say, just give me the car, like, you're not haggling to, like, get a price or trying to get a deal, you're just like, I want that one. Like, you can get out of that pretty quick.
You can't buy a car on a credit card.
Shh, shut up.
Yeah.
Yes, you can. When it's a company card, you can.
Well, regardless, it's definitely not going to have a limit high enough to buy a car without having to make an appropriate like phone call to the credit card company. At which point, the jig is up.
Well, maybe she just made a down payment with the credit card?
Well, that's like taking out a loan for a loan. We tried to put our last down payment on a credit card, and they said, "Oh no, you can't do that." Like maybe it's different out there in California where there's no rules.
where it's 78 degrees Fahrenheit on Christmas Eve.
Mm-hmm.
My own personal nightmare. So she's in this Porsche. It is a great car. I only know it's a Porsche because they mentioned it in the dialogue. And she's in a red dress and her hair's all done. She looks expensive now. We completely skip the wedding and the reception and go straight to her in the evening watching Vincent Price in A Christmas Carol and eating popcorn.
Mm-hmm.
How did this loop go? We don't know.
Nope.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. What matters is that we have a 1949 version of A Christmas Carol that was one of the earliest TV recordings that actually still survives.
Oh.
Because back then, TV was all done live. So the only way to get the recording was to basically point the camera at the television screen and film that. I forget what they call that. It's like kinetoscope, not kinetoscope, but it's one of those things. It's kinescope. Yay. So this is an actual 1949 Vincent Price Christmas Carol movie, which is very exciting to see. And then they actually do something that looks like it might have cost money. They have George Wendt appear in the movie.
Yeah.
But really, it's just they filmed him in an old-timey outfit in black and white in front of a projection of the movie. Mm-hmm. So he's not interacting or anything like that. It's not quite Forrest Gump technology.
Not quite Forrest Gump levels. But it's pretty good, though. It's a pretty good effect.
It's passable for a TV Christmas movie filmed in 6 days. Fucking A, yeah.
So it's a live performance on a screen that is being filmed by another camera that is being projected on another screen that George Wendt is standing in front of in order to be filmed by another camera, which then in turn is filmed by the camera that we're watching.
Wow.
It's like an onion or an ogre. It's got so many layers.
Norms all the way down.
Norms on the back of Norms. Standing on the back of a Vincent Price.
Norm's purpose here is to give Rebecca a clue about how to get out of the time loop. She's not getting it.
It's like, stop fucking around. Be better.
Yeah, fuck Chad.
He's like, the people I help usually figure this out a lot quicker than you. You're dumb as a post. You need clues.
I think Groundhog Day would have been better if Bill Murray had a character telling him what to do at all times and what is happening. Who likes ambiguity?
Hey, who needs personal growth on their own time?
Yeah.
No, somebody should tell you how to be better, and you should just be better.
Mm-hmm.
That's all we want. Next morning. Great. Why did she go for that low-calorie popcorn snack when she didn't have to? Next morning, Rebecca's back at the diner, and she's eating something else, like eggs and...
bacon. She's like, oh my God, bacon's so good.
Right. Which, she's not having, too much food. This is a reasonable meal.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Some protein, some carbs. She's got some hash browns. It's fine. And everybody's saying, wow, you're really eating a whole lot right now. She's not.
No, not at all.
So I'm angry about that. Alyssa comes to the diner. We had sort of set up in a prior loop that she visits the diner that morning and says, hey, Chad was asking about you last night at the rehearsal dinner. And Rebecca takes this opportunity to ask why Chad and Molly never got together, because from her perspective, they'd been hooking up. Alyssa has no idea what she's talking about. She's like, they were never, why would they ever have gotten together? Chad,
have you seen Molly? No, it's not going to happen. She sucks.
Her personality sucks, but her hair is on point. Yes, true.
Now, Rebecca,
Chad's not that shallow.
I know you think you've seen Chad and Molly make out a couple of times now, but it didn't really happen. Don't worry.
Yeah,
right.
No, didn't happen.
All right, back to the reception. Rebecca now reverses the initial greeting with Chad, and she starts singing to him. And so he reciprocates.
And he's all excited.
Yeah, he's like, yay! And Molly comes in, and Rebecca basically puts her her hand on Molly's face and pushes her away. That's not literally what happened, but it's essentially what happened. Chad's like, I didn't cheat on you. And then Rebecca challenges Chad to ice skating.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of out of nowhere. Kind of weird. But okay. Next morning. Montage. Rebecca learns to ice skate.
It's like, oh yeah, that guy from an hour ago? He's back.
I know. And he's giving her personalized lessons in ice skating.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like she needs to learn something that takes a lot of practice and skill, like the piano. But no, it's ice skating.
I don't. I think you're stretching there. No,
That's
this
a
is not
stretch.
like Groundhog Day at all. No.
No. Well, she also learns to cook in another montage. She bakes a cake that deflates.
She does not learn to cook. She learns how to bake. And the payoff of that is later she cooks.
Yeah, that's right.
Good catch.
Okay, so she makes cakes all the time, but like they don't show any of the process of the cake. They just show an ugly looking cake coming out and then a normal looking cake coming out and then it sinks, but like the cakes are already kind of done and we don't really
And frosted, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no actual baking done. It's just here's a cake, I made it, trust me.
What I love is that one of the cakes looks okay, and then it deflates, kind of makes like a fart sound, and it's like, a hilarious visual gag. And then we're meant to understand, like, one, Groundhog Day cycle later, like, she pulls out this cake, and it looks pretty good, and her mom jiggles it to see if it deflates or not.
But her mom wouldn't have known.
Yeah, right.
And each cake she makes is a different kind of cake.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to diversify your cake making abilities.
Mm-hmm.
You really don't. If you just master the basics, eggs, flour, like whatever you're using to leaven it, then you can make any cake. So it makes sense to go for one. Just repeat it. One type of cake. And once you have mastered that, it's transferable.
That's right.
Well, when they sent catering over to the Safeway to pick up a bunch of cakes for that shoot, they probably didn't have more than one of each cake. And so they're like, Fred, they don't have 5 of the same cake. He's like, just get 5 different cakes. It's fine.
Yeah, whatever's cheapest. It's fine. We'll eat them later.
Great
That's going to be craft services for the day.
Oh no. All right, on some future loop, in the morning, Rebecca surprises Chad at the ice skating rink. Early in the morning, she's like, let's skate. She's flirting now. It's not coming off as flirting.
Does she know Chad's going to be at the ice skating rink in the morning?
I guess so.
On those days where she's learning to bake and ice skate, is she still going to the wedding?
I guess so.
I mean, what's that like?
I mean, she might have blown off the wedding for like a few weeks to like learn some stuff. Like, who cares?
Yeah, no one will even notice. I mean, she wasn't going to be there anyway until she got fired.
Right.
Certainly not Alyssa, who shows up at the diner every day and, the mom confirms that her daughter's here, that Rebecca's here.
True.
Just all just like glossed over.
I love like the existential horror of her breaking Chad's heart every day and him not being aware that so she's like perpetually like torturing him, and she realizes that she shouldn't be at one point, but she has to keep putting off like fulfilling his desires, right? Endlessly and endlessly until she's able to like, I don't know,
Learn how to ice skate backwards.
yeah.
Like, oh man, I really don't want to hurt you, but I can't do a good tight turn on my ice skates yet, so fuck this version of Chad.
And establish her skills as a potential homemaker in the future. That's really important.
Yeah. Busy business, that's terrible. Baking cakes, that's for the ladies.
That trips us into another montage where they are ice skating. It's a montage of them one day, like over a 10-minute period, skating on ice.
Remember that time a few minutes ago when they were ice skating?
It's sometimes Rebecca, and it's sometimes a woman wearing a Rebecca-like wig who is also ice skating. I don't know why Christmas movies can't just hire people who can ice skate, but every time we've seen ice skating in a Christmas movie, anytime anything more complicated than slowly skating forward happens, it's just somebody in the worst wig you've ever seen.
Another thing that's changed in this loop, in addition to getting on the ice with Chad, is that on the way to the wedding, Rebecca is nice to that Girl Scout, and she buys a bunch of box of cookies and gives them away.
Growth.
Wow.
She's growing.
We also, I think it's when she and Chad have their ice skating montage, we introduce a new character that Rebecca knows the backstory of.
Yes.
The ice skating guy, who is Ted Monty, who shows up in, every other movie we've watched. He's also the dad in Abner the Invisible Dog.
No, he's not. What?
Yeah, that's Ted Monty. He was in the Hatfields and McCoys movie.
Also, no. Come on, no. This is a new face.
Ted Monty is literally in every other Fred Olin Ray movie. We've seen him in 20 movies, Meredith.
I do not believe you.
But yeah, no. But Rebecca just comes up to him and says, "Hey, your wife had a baby last night. Congratulations. How are you doing? Why is he working?" It's Christmas Eve and his wife just had a baby, but it's so important for him to hand out ice skates?
Mm-hmm.
Because this movie establishes that working is more important than family.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Unless it's not.
All right, we get to the wedding. Rebecca is nice to Jennifer. Rebecca is even nice to Molly. And Rebecca gets the keyboardist and vocalist out of the venue. And she's like, come back during the reception. She installs a violinist and cellist who are somehow free on Christmas Eve.
That's right.
You know, it's great to make decisions about other people's wedding the day of their wedding, right?
I'm assuming she paid for the violinist with her company credit card.
For sure.
Well, and I'm assuming they didn't pay the violinist as much, since the violinist doesn't seem to be touching the strings in any meaningful manner while dragging the bow across the string.
Oh, I didn't notice. That's good.
Like, the cellist is faking it well, but they're just, like, faking it in front of whatever track they can afford. Because if you're renting the instruments, just rent the instrumentalists, too, you know? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense to me. Earlier at the ice skating rink, Rebecca told Chad to call the best man and, like, tell him not to forget the ring. So at this loop, they've got the ring and we get to actually see more of the ceremony and the vows.
Because that's what we want, is more ceremony.
I'd been aching for it at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because, I mean, I've only heard that line about how the ancient Greeks believed that the ring is on the finger that is connected to a vein that attaches to the heart, or whatever the fuck David...
All veins go to your heart, yes. Or, like, come from your heart. Like, the veins and the arteries, it's all connected to the heart.
I've always liked that.
It is a terrible wedding ceremony, and we hear it so many times.
Michael did my wedding ceremony. Michael, did you...
Oh, shit, I did.
Did you say that stupid shit about the rings?
You know, a ring is a perfect circle, and if you wear one, you will turn invisible, but it will corrupt you.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that. That sounds right.
Yeah, I think that's what I did.
We're at the reception. Chad and Rebecca. They've got a good rapport now. This continues. They're chatting. She blindfolds him. That's awesome. There's stairs all over this venue, you guys. And she leads him to a dinner table for two. They're supposed to be at the reception. The toasts have not been given. They're nowhere near it.
No.
And she cooked. She did not bake.
Well, and she cooked at the wedding venue? Did she run
It
to
looks
the
like
diner
it,
and
yeah.
cook?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What, pasta with mushrooms and white truffle? Why did she need mushrooms and white truffle? That seems a little...
When she presents that dish and it looks like a pile of oatmeal.
Yeah.
That was so funny.
She made one bowl of risotto as dinner for two of
Oh,
them.
right, risotto, right.
I mean, you got to put like some little sage leaves on it to make it look like not just like a pile of shit.
Or fresh
Right?
grated
It's the
truffle on
most
top, something.
unappetizing looking like cinematic food I have ever seen.
And I'm going to go out here and just make my declaration now. Truffles taste like shit. They are
hate 'em.
terrible. I hate truffles.
You're better off just, like, sprinkling MSG on a dish, honestly.
Probably, yeah.
They do a weird thing to my mouth. I don't like it. I love mushrooms, hate truffles. There. I've made my line in the sand.
You might be slightly allergic to truffles specifically if it's doing something weird to your mouth.
Uh-huh.
No, it's like
And it's very expensive.
Yeah, no, it's terrible.
Yeah. Well, it's all for nothing because this doesn't break the loop. She is
Doesn't it?
wined and dined. No! It doesn't break the loop.
Oh, I thought that broke the loop.
No, I'm pretty sure. Okay, so I wrote a note. This does not break the loop. And then my next note is we're back at the reception. It's a different loop. We do the reception twice.
I think they just walked back to the reception from
Really?
a different. I don't know, but
They might have finished dinner and gone back to the reception.
I mean, it's not like it was a big dinner.
Oh, okay, all right, that makes sense. I'm willing to
But
concede
this
on
movie,
this.
this movie is so sloppy with its Groundhog
Yeah.
Day-ness that we can't tell. That's what it is.
So I really thought it was another loop and another reception because we're back at the reception. Rebecca is taking over the toast making. Molly's not making a toast. Rebecca's making a toast.
Yeah, because you have that one non-bridesmaid, non-wedding party person just stand up at your wedding and do a speech.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In retrospect, that would be really funny to put somebody on the spot and make them do that. She makes a toast. Then the dancing begins. Oh my god, the montages, you guys.
The dancing montage was
Like-
really good.
Okay, so we get a montage of Alyssa and her new husband, of all of the scenes we've seen of them together because they're in love and dancing. Okay, great.
Yeah.
We get a montage of Rebecca and Chad dancing, of all the scenes again, where they've been falling in love. We've seen this montage before.
And Chad hasn't experienced half of those scenes.
Right.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mom shows up. She's dancing with drunk Tyler.
I guess you got to close the diner?
Yeah, I mean, this is unprecedented in the time loop. Why?
And why is she dancing with drunk Tyler?
I don't know. Like, I think, let Catherine Hicks get some,
She looks fantastic.
She can
Drunk
do better
Tyler
than
should
Drunk
be so
Tyler.
lucky.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
All right, and here it is. Rebecca and Chad kiss, and everybody applauds at Alyssa's wedding.
Way to steal her thunder.
Yeah. They're just trying to distract from the fact that Allison, Alyssa, whatever her name is marrying a guy who definitely appears to be gay.
Mm-hmm.
That's rude. You can never tell.
No, you can never tell for sure. But that guy is the mayor on Resident Alien, which is a show I DVR'd for like 2 seasons and never watched an episode of. So
Nice.
Was that a sequel to that 90s show where all the aliens had just kind of like integrated into...
Alien Nation? No.
Oh, damn. Should have been. I like that show.
I'm sure they'll do a reboot of it because it is IP.
It's morning, and Alyssa wakes up and she assumes that it's the same loop. She's so disappointed, but lo, there is the smell of bacon in the
And
air.
she loves bacon now.
Yeah.
Loves bacon. So she goes downstairs. Chad's making her bacon. We have broken the loop. Hooray.
He's allegedly making bacon, but we just see him push a plastic pancake flipper into a frying pan, and we don't see what's in it. And if you're making bacon in that pan, you're going to melt that plastic pancake flipper, okay? It's one of the many little things about this movie that drive me crazy, like this and the peanut butter cookies. And I'm like, this should not be bothering me with the many mistakes in this movie. But no, you're going to fuck up that flipper. You don't want to do that.
Yeah. You should make bacon in the oven anyway. It's like way better.
Is the cookie thing another thing where it's like they're at Costco and they're like, Fred, they're out of peanut butter cookies, but they don't have any. He's like, well, what do they have? Like, they have these frosted cookies. He's like, just get them.
So Chad gives Rebecca an engagement ring. He'd been holding on to it for like the past 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've been together for a whole night. Time to get married.
Uh-huh. But oh no, Rebecca has a flight to catch and she called the taxi driver. So Norm's waiting for her and she goes out to be so apologetic and is like, sorry, Norm, I'm not going to take the flight. And Norm's like, finally.
She says, I'm not going back to New York. I don't care about my cat anymore.
Right.
That's right.
Yes.
I'm going to stay in California where I don't need a cat. I have a husband now.
I hope that cat gets out of the apartment and finds a new home.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Norm needs that crystal ornament back because he's magic and cannot make another one.
That's true.
He's not that omnipotent, Meredith.
He's like, I've only got the one. If it breaks, like, I'm out of a job.
Meanwhile, Chad is just watching this weird, in-depth conversation between her and a cab driver, and he's just, like, fine with it. He's not like, who's this weirdo?
He's trapped in the bliss of getting engaged to the woman he's been obsessing over for 10 years, so,
Or he's distracted because finally his spatula is melting and he's having a very oh shit moment.
There's some weird plastic fumes in his brain right now, yeah.
I think we're all distracted because Chad is wearing tight jeans for the first time, and it's very exciting.
Is it time to rate this movie?
Well, hold on. I want to just say, we do a close-up of the cab pulling away. And even though
Yes.
Rebecca had a personalized plate, it is framed in such a way like the license plate of the cab is going to be important, but the license plate of the cab is 999981.
Yeah.
I'm just like, is that a secret code?
It's a secret destiny code.
My mind went, oh, wait, he's really an angel, and that's like Kabbalic numerology. And then I realized I was going insane.
Hold on, which one is the 9th letter of the alphabet? No, we have too many in a row.
And then it just disappears.
Where he's going, he doesn't need roads.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking through my notes, and the only note I did not mention is when you were talking about the montage scene when they were ice skating, there is a scene like while they're like looking like they're going to kiss in the ice skating scene where it fades between them like 6 times in a row, where it's just fade to the guy, fade to the girl, fade to the guy, fade to the... It was the weirdest fucking thing I've ever seen. And I did not like that at all. But anyway, yeah. Want to do some ratings, Meredith?
Mike and Charlie, we rate this movie on about 4-ish metrics, and it is always the joy of the episode. Kennedy just loves this part, and he does not sound tortured at all. So we will be interested in your ratings as well. They do not need to be impacted by Kennedy's ratings at all. Give me your, out of a scale of maybe 0 to 10 or maybe 1 to 10. I don't know. 10's your max. How did this movie do on effort? How much effort do you think was put into this movie?
I'm going to go first and say a 3. This is a 3 out of 10 effort, guys. We did effort with Norm from Cheers appearing in the TV end of effort list.
You know what? I wrote down 3. I'm not sure exactly how I came to that, but I was like, there was a few scenes that seemed to have some effort. So yeah, 3.
I wrote down 6. Here's why.
Ooh.
First of all, I think we have to compare it to other like Hallmark quality like Christmas movies, and this movie's kind of on par. I mean, there's some that are, more production value, a little bit more expensive, but I kind of get the feeling that they had a real budget to deal with. I mean, that's kind of, Fred Olen Ray's thing, right? Crush it down as far as you can and make whatever you can out of it, right?
Yeah.
And for all of that, they came up with like a complicated script. Right? I mean, there's a lot of stuff happening, right? I imagine that, at least in the writing of this thing, which I'm not going to argue that it's written well, there's some, logistics to figure out that are more than just, let's just shoot this thing in order and, slam it together, right? It's a little trickier than that, right? And, yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
comparatively?
The script is a lot more... What's the word? Ambitious than the last one of the last movies we watched. Pretty much every movie we watched is like, all right, now this is a lady and this is a prince and there's a misunderstanding and they're going to break up at this point. And at least this one doesn't follow the exact same formula as every other one.
And I would assume that a lot of the effort would go into doing it all as easily and with as little effort as possible. So I guess what I'm seeing is I see planning, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Not perfect, but considering.
The effort and the lack of effort. It's very wabi-sabi. Yeah, I got you.
All right. Next metric. Quality/production value.
2.
I'm going to be generous and I'm going to say 3. I mean, it would be higher if it didn't have such terrible sound quality and there was better, anything. But yeah, I'm going to say whatever I said before.
Sound quality, the cookies, the cakes, the risotto, there's just a lot of things that could have been better.
I'm going to say 4. Again, I'm just basing it on the metric of Hallmark Christmas movie, right? I mean, it's bad for that, but they're pretty low bar already. I mean, and for TV movie, honestly, it's not bad. Mm-hmm. What did this originally broadcast on?
That's a good question. I have no idea.
No clue.
Huh. It doesn't have a Wikipedia page, so we can't look it up there.
Yeah, there's just this insistence that it's made for TV, but I don't know what that means.
I mean, it's on streaming now, but was it on streaming in 2012? Did it go to a streaming service?
Yeah, it could have been just one of those things they just jam into the content machine. Yeah.
All right, entertainment value. Was this movie entertaining?
I'm gonna give 4. It wasn't pure torture like some of the other ones we watched, but it wasn't good enough to be enjoyable or bad enough to be enjoyable,
I originally wrote down 1, but I think I was being a little harsh with that. I think I'm gonna go 3 with the entertainment. There was moments George Wendt, I like seeing George Wendt, and there was some stuff that was so bad it kind of made me chuckle, and so I did get some entertainment value out of it.
7. Here's why.
I am loving Charlie's high scores.
Yeah. I think that the fundamental premise of a groundhog loop is interesting enough.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not going to tell you that it was done particularly well in this film. I can't lie, but if you give me that premise, I'm gonna lock in waiting for those beats. Right, to happen. And the movie's ultimately unsatisfying because it doesn't do that very efficiently or in a very pleasing way. But again, that premise is going to take me pretty far
Incredible.
And a
Nice.
time loop at a wedding. I mean, Palm Springs is just ripping off this movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah. Also, secretly, I am measuring this against what everyone would think would be the penultimate modern Christmas movie, which is Love Actually. And this movie is so much better.
Shirley famously hates Love Actually.
Look, just because that guy wants to steal his friend's 17-year-old bride.
God, and talk about a movie that plays with weird, like, female, like, expectations of, like,
Body
body
issues.
standards. Like,
Yeah.
boy, oh boy, what a...
Yeah.
This movie, you know what, does it more tastefully.
She learns to eat. It's great. Yeah.
Does this movie make any goddamn sense?
Here's
2.
where I went high. Go ahead. Kennedy, what's yours? You go first.
Yeah, 2. 2. Like, part of her proof of her being in a time loop is repeating something that was not said in the time loop day. She doesn't wake up at the same time in the time loop every time. She experiences a hangover during the time loop. She gets arrested for almost nothing.
Mhm.
She has a company credit card that still works days after she's been fired. Like, again, she doesn't have anybody watch her cat. Like, every little bit of this movie doesn't quite make sense. Like, not one part really lines up with the rest of it. It's an entire movie built on fridge logic.
See, as far as like making sense goes, I was thinking just overall, like the story beats make sense. Like I was able to follow the story. I was able to follow the characters. There are logical things within that don't work. But as far as like an overarching story from beginning, middle, and end, like the growth of a character, like I was able to follow. There was never any point in the movie where I was confused as to what was happening or why it was happening. Like I was just like, yeah, like it's not good, but it makes sense. So I gave it an 8 for sense making.
Nice. Well, so I guess if you're comparing it against a movie like Things or The Dragon Lives Again, where, you know, it does have an A, B, C kind of storyline, but...
Sure. Well, me and Mike are 100% on the same page on this one. It's an 8. I mean, I think
Love
like...
it.
I think using the rules of time loop, there's extra burden on you to have things like make sense along those lines. And the movie is not interested in pursuing that at all. Right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, part of the fun of a movie like this is to have it be like a puzzle box, and it's just...
Yeah.
It's a 5-piece puzzle, and they don't quite fit.
Yeah, instead, it's just making like vague, like Mike said, sort of romantic comedy sense. But I do also think in its own way, it does sort of stick the landing of like reinforcing this kind of like conservative ideology of women need to go home, right? Be with their like high school boyfriend, their first true love. They need to learn how to cook, right? They need to learn how to, give up like goals outside of like a family sort of Christmassy, right? Like kind of basis, right? And the movie absolutely nails that. Like by the end, she's, showing the ring on her finger and giggling and just becoming like a homebody. She's going to get fat and have kids and not work ever again, right?
Abandon the liberal values of the city and return home.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I don't like that, but like it gets there, you know?
If there's anything in this movie that doesn't make sense, is why is this movie not called A Christmas Eve Wedding Date? Like, none of this movie... 3 minutes of this movie takes place on Christmas. And at that point, they're engaged. It's not a date. So it could either be called A Christmas Wedding Engagement or A Christmas Eve Wedding Date.
Okay, quick question. Did he spend the night with her, or did he show up early in the morning and start cooking in her mom's house?
He showed up
Yes.
early in the morning.
It's classic, like made for TV, like chasteness, where they don't explain it enough, so that I think you can go in either direction. But it's leaning in. He just sort of chastely broke into the house and started cooking bacon.
Yep.
Yeah,
There's a pile of condoms on the floor next to her, but don't pay attention to that.
yeah,
Those are
exactly.
Drunk Tyler's. Those aren't his.
Actually, this movie's probably against condoms. It's like, no, that's liberal city values right there.
Agreed. Yeah, for sure.
Sex is for having babies and nothing else.
Yeah.
Condoms kill babies, guys. You heard it here first. All right, now, since this is the Christmas Gauntlet, I've been asking Meredith a question, and this question is, how Christmassy is this movie?
This one's a 1 out of 10.
This is heavily and also it's Christmas movie. I can see you there. Mike and Charlie, you have any thoughts on this?
I gave it a 5, which is arguably high, but like, because it's not very Christmassy. Other than the fact that it takes place on Christmas, it's like not very Christmassy. Like Christmas is secondary to everything happening in this movie. But like, there is a Christmas ornament is like a key plot point. There's some semblance of set dressing occasionally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like it does have that like Home Alone Christmassy feeling where the story could take place at any time, but there is Christmas in every shot of this movie where they have like something Christmassy kind of going on.
Mm-hmm. Sure, it's Christmas in the way that Lethal Weapon is a Christmas movie.
Yeah,
right.
Sure,
which it adds a kind of an emotional like weight and intensity, even though the specifics of like the ceremonial day are incredibly profoundly secondary, right? Mm. I think we all know that like Christmas movies sell and they don't have to be that good. Mm-hmm. Right. So yeah, absolutely. You just say, oh, and also it's Christmas because that's going to get the movie made. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also like, first of all, I agree. This movie isn't Christmassy at all, but I will say that I think Mike and we might be leaning a little bit higher because we're Southern California boys.
Right.
And like just like sunny 78-degree Christmas is Christmassy to us.
Oh,
right.
I'm so sorry for your loss.
While at the same time understanding that like the deranged fantasy of like a white Christmas or whatever, right, it is like culturally right, more Christmassy. Yeah. Like, of course it is. Yeah, like generally expected as such, and certainly cinematically so. But there's a whole genre of like California Christmas stuff, which they usually solve by filming at night and putting people in scarves,
right,
to make it feel a little bit more wintry, right?
Yes.
But this movie's like daylight, beginning to end.
Harsh daylight constantly.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the smart thing about shooting it in California is you don't have to worry about like the budget of like fake snow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's true.
That saves on the budget a lot.
Yeah, or you just film in East Aurora in January and there's always snow.
There you go.
All right. Well, this was a lot of fun. Guys, where can we find you online?
Oh, you can find us at Random Acts of Cinema. That's our social media plug. Oh, Random Acts of Sin, excuse me. Spelled C-I-N. And, of course, our podcast, Random Acts of Cinema, where Mike and I watch a randomly selected movie from the Criterion Collection once a week.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what was the last movie that you watched on your podcast that you would rather watch this movie than that movie? Did you like? They don't have like a Serbian film or something like that on the Criterion Collection. For sure. You're like, I'm never going to watch that again. I'd rather watch this.
There's like, we've been pretty fortunate that we've it's Criterion, so it's like they're all supposed to be like like the best movies, but we've only watched like maybe 4 or 5 movies in the like series we've been doing this that have been like truly like awful, like just unpleasant or hard to watch or but like one of our lowest rated movies is a French-Belgian movie called Man Bites Dog.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Which is an expertly constructed film, like beautifully, wonderfully made, but just is so like rancid in terms of its concept and visuals.
It's one of the most unpleasant watches you can possibly imagine.
Yeah, but I would also add that, like, I mean, like I could actually name a couple of recent ones that I would probably be more willing to watch a Very Christmas Wedding movie or whatever this thing is called. Even though those movies are objectively better. And that's just because, some Criterion films, they play in the challenging or hyper artistic or abstract space. And, while those movies are often like unimaginably beautiful and, sort of perfect films in a lot of ways, like they're exhausting to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right? Like The Color of Pomegranates.
Color of Pomegranates, yeah.
Argued by many people to be one of the best movies ever made. And it's absolutely fantastic, but man, it takes it out of you just to watch that thing.
It's a 1970s Russian, like, art film that's, like, about the life of a 17th century troubadour. But it's all... It's not like a biofilm in a traditional sense. It is like an art film. It is like images and sounds and... Like, even, like, the director was like, if, like, you didn't grow up in, was it Tunisia?
Armenia, yeah.
If you didn't grow up in this region and have like a knowledge of like the history of this region, like you're not going to get this movie. Like, it is an impenetrable film. Wow. There is a 45-minute documentary on the Criterion Channel deconstructing the movie, so you can watch the film and someone can walk you through what all the visuals of each scene mean.
Mm-hmm. Oh my god!
And it's interesting, but it's exhausting. Yeah.
Or you could just watch a piece of shit Christmas wedding movie, which is I mean, like, it's got some rough edges to be sure, but it's designed to be like thoughtless and don't worry about it too much kind of a movie. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's way shorter than, you know, Fanny and Alexander or something like that.
Or Shoah.
Yeah, sure. Mm-hmm.
Shoah, the 8-hour Holocaust documentary.
Oh, yeah, jeez.
Which, again, like a 10 out of 10 movie, but do you want to sit down and watch an 8-hour Holocaust documentary?
Again?
I'm gonna again. Yeah. Maybe in my bathtub with a toaster. I think.
Oh, thank you so much for joining us and making this a less.
Oh, did we just make our podcast sound really fun? We made it sound really fun, right? Yeah. Sorry to interrupt.
Armageddon,
Meredith.
Guys, don't worry. They watched Armageddon because
that's right.
Somebody at gunpoint forced Criterion to release a bunch of Michael Bay movies.
I really appreciate your podcast because it gives me a preview of a movie before I commit to, 90 or 120 minutes. And that is how I actually watched Carnival of Souls, because I would never have picked that up otherwise.
Nice,
So thank you. Thank you.
What a pleasure of a movie, huh? Right.
Yes.
Appreciate that.
It was
so
literally
dreamy.
a joy.
Mm-hmm.
It was fantastic. All right. Well, thank you both for joining us. I know that Michael is on his way to jump into a mascot outfit, and I'm saying it here so that you actually get a picture and share it, so you can share it on the Instagram.
My life is so weird, guys.
All right. Well, until next time.
I've been Kennedy.
I've been Meredith.
I'm still Mike.
Oh, and I'm Charlie.
That's Charlie. I had 2 cats named Charlie. Sometimes my mom thinks there were only 1 cat, but there were 2. Anyway, have a great time. See you next week.
Wait, what?
Going Over Our Freds was created and produced by us, Michael Kennedy and Meredith Halsey.
Our theme was composed and performed by Justin Nozick. Find more music for him at Bandcamp. Search for The Plague Physicians.
Artwork by Michael Kennedy. Special thanks to everyone who helped make the season possible, including the friends and family who let us watch these movies instead of this year's Academy Award nominees. And thank you for listening.
If you'd like to hear more from us, subscribe to Going Over Our Freds on your favorite podcast app. Follow us on Twitter at Goof Podcast, and find us on Instagram at Going Over Our Freds.
This podcast is for entertainment purposes only. For questions, comments, and complaints, email us at goingoverourfreds@gmail.com.
Thanks.